going to learn how to create a layered animation in After Effects. And our starting point is going to be something you might already know. So what we're going to do is bring in a layered composition from either Photoshop or Illustrator. My example is going to use Illustrator. Couple of tips for you. Anything that you want to animate needs to be on a separate layer. And you can help yourself out by clearly labeling each layer. For this exercise, I created a square file in Illustrator, so that's going to be the size of the composition in After Effects. Whatever size you create in either Photoshop or Illustrator will be the size you use in After Effects. So I used 800 pixels by 800 pixels. I'm doing a square. I would just keep pixels in mind. So to get started, we're going to create a new project, and we're just going to save this. Just like Premiere, After Effects creates an AEP file. So that's After Effects project file. And we're going to just begin by importing. And notice I have my project bin here selected. And I'm in my default view. So I'm going to choose File, Import, and File. There's my layered Illustrator logo, so it's just a .ai file. If you're using Photoshop, it would be the .psd file. I'm going to import as composition, retain layer sizes, and create a composition. So I'll hit open, and there's my composition. And if I double click it, it's going to appear down here. Think of this as our timeline with each of my named layers. Here is my program playback or composition playback. Now, a few tips for you here. Here is your view. So if you wanted to view this larger, you can view it larger, whatever percentage works the best for you. And this is my playback. So if you find that After Effects is running a little slow for you, it's a bit of a space hog, maybe take it down to quarter or half, and that's just going to speed up your processing. It won't affect your final export, so that's fine. Now, our composition currently has a black background. I didn't have any background when I brought that in. I can change that if I want to. So I'm just going to go to Composition and Composition Settings. And so here's my background, and I'm just going to use, I think, a white for this. Make it easy to see everything. Hit OK. And so now we've got it on a nice white background. While I'm here, I can also look at my duration. And so I have this running 15 seconds, which is a little bit long. So I can change that as well. So it's hours, minutes, seconds, frames. So I'm just changing it to 10 seconds. My frame rate is typical for American frame rate 2997, and I'll hit OK. And so notice my timeline changed to 10 seconds. So now we're ready to animate any layer. So we're going to start with these lines. And so if I'm not sure, I can just click this eye. Helpful if maybe you didn't label things well. And I'm going to click this down arrow. And that's going to open up my transformations. And we're going to keep it really simple with this one and just work with transformations and the basic keyframes. So let's say what I want to do is kind of spin this around. So I'm going to click my keyframe for rotation. And I could add a series of other ones if I wanted to. And so let's say every 2 seconds, I'm going to go around one time. So just press my space bar to press play. And so it's kind of reversing, and that's exactly the look I wanted. Perfect. Now I can also copy these keyframes. So I'm going to select these last two. I'm going to copy with Command C, Control C if you're on a PC, and Control V. So I've got that spinning around and kind of bouncing around and going back and forth, and that's fun. So let's do the next one, and we'll do something different with this one. So for this one, let's say we still want to have that rotation because I think that's going to look good, but we're going to do it a different way. So we're going to say, let's add our keyframe. So click our little stopwatch. That's our starting point. And then this time we're going to do something every second. And so this time we're going to do degrees. So I'm going to say 20. So I'm really enjoying that. Now let's do our gray line, and we're going to just do this in a different way as well. So again, we're going to play with position, or excuse me, we're going to play with rotation. And I'm going to say this is my starting point. And here at the end, we're just going to rotate around to here. So interesting relationship with those rotations. Let's play with some more techniques. I'm going to skip the J because we're going to do something special with that. But let's work on our circle. And so for our circle, let's say that we want to have it change positions. So let's say at 4 seconds, I want it to be where it is right now. So I'm going to click the position. And it's going to come in, let's just say, from up here. And so if we play this, it's just going to kind of move in just like that. Now if we wanted to speed that up, all I need to do is drag that keyframe and it speeds it up. I can also click these little points, and if you're familiar with Illustrator, you might recognize these as Bezier curves. And then it's going to kind of curve in. So let's play that. Now, something fun you can do with balls is make them bounce. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say at this point, we're going to bring it up. And I'm just going to bring that curve back in. There we go. And then we're going to have it come down. And then back up. And then back down where it belongs. So let's play that. A couple of fun techniques with position there. Coming in and then bouncing around. Excellent. We can also combine transformations. So let's say that with school, we want it to fade in and we want it to change position. So we're going to start this at 0%. And let's just say by here, we're going to have 100%. And then we'll have a position. And if we hold our Shift key down, we can keep things straight. So in this case, we combine them. And now here's a cool technique. We mentioned copying frames. Let's say I want to copy those exact same keyframes from school to a different layer. I can do that. So I'm just going to marquee over all those keyframes. I'm going to copy them. I'm going to go up to tech, and I'm going to paste them. There we go. So let's play it all together. Oh, and since we didn't quite have school and tech in the same position, we're going to need to alter those a little bit. So let's just show you how we can edit those positions. So I'm going to say, I don't really like the idea of tech coming in from the top. So I can just delete both of those keyframes. There we go. That's looking good. Okay, so our final technique is what we've been saving this J for. So I've got some stock video I'm going to bring in. So click on my project pane. I'm going to hit Command I, and here is my Pexels file. And I did not need to create a composition with that, but that is okay. Just close that down. So here's that video file. Let's delete that. There we go. And so I'm going to drag this right below my J layer. And so it's going to look like it's covering things up, but we're going to use a little masking technique. So I'm going to choose this J as my shape layer. I'm going to right click it. I'm going to go to blending modes, and down at the bottom, choose Stencil Alpha. So that created a mask for us. So let's play this through. And our ink comes in. So very cool effect there. Now let's talk a little bit more about keyframes, especially like that bouncing ball. So that looks a little harsh. You know, it's kind of just not creating an easy transition in. So I'm going to go back to that circle, and keyboard shortcut to learn is if you hit U, you're going to see specifically your changes for that. And so now I'm seeing all of my keyframes for that circle. And I'm going to select them, and I'm going to right click on them, go down to Keyframe Assistant and choose Easy Ease. And you'll notice my circles change to like little hourglass shapes. And that's just going to smooth that out a bit. So let's play it now. And you see how it kind of creates a nice little smooth transition there? Fabulous. So let's go ahead and get ready to compose this out, to export this out. Now before we do, I want to do one more thing with my video and my J. I'm just going to select those together, group them, and pre-compose them. That's just going to make the play out of that a little bit smoother. Make it a little easier to render it out too. Okay, so that's looking great. So with our timeline selected, I'm going to first save my project, and now I'm ready to export. So 2 ways to export. I can go to Composition, add to Adobe Media Encoder Queue, or I can do the same thing right here. Either method works. I do like to export through Media Encoder. I think it's a little easier workflow than the render queue. Now before we started, I went ahead and opened up Media Encoder, so it's actually already open. And this is where we pause and we wait for it to appear up here. And this is one of those things like you're going to feel like nothing's happening, and then you'll do it again, and then you'll do it again, and then it'll appear. So here's our file that we created, and here is our preset for what we can export this out as. I can export this out as an MP4, an animated GIF, all kinds of options here. Just note there's the animated GIF. I'm going to go ahead and export out as an MP4. So I'm going to choose H.264, and I don't need a really high resolution for this, but I am thinking that maybe I want to send this out to YouTube and just see what people think of it. So I'm going to choose the YouTube 1080. Here's where I can make sure it's going into the correct file. So I'll click on that, and it's going into my Animate Logo folder. We're just going to call this Final MP4, and we'll play that out. Excellent. Let's take a look. So you might be asking, well, Heather, didn't we have a white background? It is always going to export out to this black comp. If I wanted it to actually look white, let me show you what you'll need to do back in After Effects. Instead of just having that change in our composition settings, what I would need to add is a layer solid. I could have also created a background layer when I created this in Illustrator. But here's how you create a layer solid. So I'll just do a new solid, and let's create it. It's going to be the same size as my composition. And so I'm just going to have it be a kind of a very, very light gray, and hit OK. And then I'll move this to the bottom of my stacking order. And there it is. And so I could export that out, and it would have that whitish gray background. So hopefully that gives you some techniques and ideas and things to play with as you get started with some very basic keyframe animation.